Can the Firefly return? And can it return without Nathan Fillion? Screen Rant thinks it can. I disagree, and I will tell you things I've been told about a planned return for Firefly. Welcome to the Tachyon Pulse podcast.
Our Tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.
So I read this article today on Screen Rant talking about how Firefly can return, but it doesn't necessarily need Nathan Fillion to do so. Now in a minute I'm going to tell you actually what the plan is, and that Universal are working towards this. Actually in cooperation potentially with Disney, but ran mostly by Universal. But in the meantime, I'm going to tell you what Screen Rant suggested, because they've been looking at the comics, and there is a relatively new one come out called New Verse. And in that comic, it actually says that, look, Nathan Fillion, Mal, Captain Reynolds, is barely in it. Jane's not in it. We think he's dead, we think. Kaylee and Simon have settled on a farm and have a couple of kids. And Morena Baccaran's character, who I love, has become a high priestess in her, prostitute thing. So, there is the possibility that they could follow that sort of formula. But who would it be based around? Well, in the comics, it's always been established that actually Zoe was pregnant during the events of Serenity. When Wash died, I was a leaf on the wind until I got speared by an enormous toothpick. So Zoe was pregnant and she had a young daughter named Emma. Now, in the comics, Emma is trying to basically live up to what her mom did and her dad did and everything else that, like the Serenity and the Firefly managed. So she is trying to be worthy, basically, of being the new captain. I don't know if this is the best idea, but Firefly The Next Generation is kind of what Universal want to do eventually. But the plan is to still do a mini-series with Nathan Fillion first. I told you about this a few months ago, to be fair, but I am told that it's still the case, but there is a problem with it ever really happening, and I'll tell you that in a second. But what Universal have been trying to do, and what conversations with Nathan Fillion have been, is to do a 3-part mini-series, or almost like TV movies. These would go straight to a streaming provider, not necessarily Peacock, whatever. If they can get somebody else to pay for it, I think they will. It is going to be within cooperation with Disney. There was some conversations about how actually own the rights for this. If they're going to do a TV movie, technically Universal own the movie rights to Firefly. After the Firefly was cancelled by Fox, Universal picked up the movie rights and did the Serenity movie. But Disney still owned the TV rights. So I was told, 2 years ago, and this was first sort of suggested by Nathan Fillion. He initially went to Disney, but then Universal sort of picked it up, that they would sort of do something that was in cooperation. I actually wonder, and talking to a couple of people that I do get to speak to, I think this would be produced by Universal, but go on Disney Plus. That seems to be sort of the agreement that's being made, because obviously that is a much bigger streaming platform for the project than anything sort of Universal has. Internationally as well is really the point there. So it does seem that is still moving along. The idea being to do this sort of 3-part mini-series, or 3 little movies. It would basically start with Mal being a very sort of broken character after losing members of the crew, maybe even losing the Firefly, and by the end of that trilogy we would see sort of the Captain Mal we know and love sort of coming back, him reuniting the crew, and then that would then lead into the Next Generation, maybe with Emma Washburn, Zoe's daughter, taking over the reins of the Firefly. Now, it's kind of a story that's been done before, but it is a story that makes sense. If you think about everything that Mal has been through, it really would not take much to push him over the edge, particularly with the events that we saw at the end of Serenity. You imagine the government and, the military basically trying to shut the Serenity down, trying to make it as difficult for him as possible to continue flying. I could see it wouldn't take a lot, that if you took the space from him, that maybe he would crack. So, that was kind of the idea. Where are we right now? The problem is Nathan Fillion is still doing The Rookie, even though he is stepping back a lot from it. It has been renewed for another season. He will be in it less and less. He's already actually started to appear in it less and less. You will notice if you watch it, other characters have taken on far more of a more front role. They've also increased the number of characters, which basically means he has to be on set less and less. Nathan Fillion is the sort of person that works really, really hard, but likes his time to relax. So he does like having 3-4 months off. One of the things he particularly disliked about Castle towards the end was that he was obviously one of the main characters and he was just on set. He was in almost every shot. So he was just working. And it really got him down towards the end. He talks about being a bit bloated and a bit chubby sort of by the end of Castle. And he says that just comes down to exhaustion. He was exhausted and it got to a point where he just didn't enjoy it anymore. I don't think he ever wants to get to that position again. So he has been stepping back a little bit from The Rookie. But the problem is his role within DC. Now James Gunn has moved over to DC. And James Gunn and Nathan Fillion are very close friends after they did a movie Slither together a few years ago. If you've never seen it, it's fantastic. I think it was Nathan Fillion's first movie. It was one of James Gunn's first movies as well. It's sort of like a comedy horror thing. It's a fantastic film. Check it out if you can. But ever since then, obviously, Nathan Fillion has appeared in a few James Gunn projects. He is going to appear in Superman, and he will also be appearing in the Green Lanterns TV series. I'm being told that actually Nathan Fillion really wants to sort of exploit that relationship best he can and would like to continue doing those sort of movies. He loves the Guy Gardner character as one of the Green Lanterns, and he would love to see if they can go further with that. I'm actually told he's got ambitions to potentially try to get his own movie with that, if possible. That really would possibly prevent him from them doing the Firefly. That would then potentially stop him from doing Firefly, and that would be a terrible shame. But doing a trilogy of TV movies wouldn't necessarily take up vast amounts of time. It's something he could do potentially between projects if he really, really wanted to. And every time Nathan Fillion talks about Firefly, he talks about it with absolute love. It was one of his favourite projects he ever did, if not the favourite. And if he gets half a chance, I am absolutely certain we will see the space cowboy, Malcolm Reynolds, fly once again. But guys, get into the comments and tell me what you think. Is Firefly the sort of thing that we need to be rebooted? We need a new, fresh take on it. But it must be a continuation. We must have Firefly the next generation. But can that work without the miniseries? I'm basically being told they would love to do the reboot, but it's got to have the miniseries first. We've got to say goodbye to those characters first. It's the only way Disney and Universal can see this working. Would you agree? Or do you think, no, they can do this maybe just with a couple of cameos from legacy characters? Give us new, interesting characters, and maybe, just maybe, we can get a few series of Firefly, the show that we deserved first time round. I think they need to do the mini-series first. I don't think it'll work otherwise. But get into the comments and tell me what you think. Hey, Star Trek The Next Generation worked, so maybe? If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out and you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can become a member of the channel and you get to see most of our videos before everybody else. Sometimes up to 24 hours. Go check that out. As always, please stay safe and I'll see you next time.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.